Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to be able to rise and say that the Green Party is supporting the food bill. In that we are supporting the food bill, we still have some reservations, and I'll discuss those as we go. But there have been some major changes to the bill, particularly in the last couple of years, from where it started back effectively 11 years ago. We have followed its history. I've followed it personally since way back when it was first mooted in the New Zealand Food Safety Authority, when I think Annette King was the Food Safety Minister, and brought it to the Consumer Forum, where I was, as a concept of modernising and improving the risk-based approach to food safety with the different tiers of foods, food production and the likes, and how they should be handled, and what sort of food plans and the likes that different foods should go under. So it was a great concept, and it is a great concept, and we've got this far. However, there were a number of concerns when the food bill had finished with the first part of the select committee before I was a member of Parliament. When it came back from there was it potentially would have incorporated seed that is grown for anything, whether it be pasture seed, whether it be vegetable seed, whether it be potatoes for planting, whether it be sunflowers for planting or anything. All seed propagating material was being caught up in it. So it was very good that Kate Wilkinson, the then Food Safety Minister, very quickly realised that this was a mistake and there's no way that it should be incorporated that way, and that only food that was going to be consumed should go through the food bill. So it was the first major change that was mooted and that was successful in getting changed. However, there are other issues that were very concerning. Genetic engineering had been taken out, or genetic modification as the bill describes it, had been taken out as something that should be considered as a food safety item. And so that took a fair amount of negotiation and lobbying and lots of submissions and emails to nearly all of us in the House from people that were very concerned about that. It was really good that a subsequent minister, Nikki Kay, saw that reinserted. So genetic modification is in the food bill as something that may be considered as a food safety issue, and that is seriously needs to be considered as a food safety issue, and I'll touch on that after. There were issues around the donating of food and where the food could be donated, where the community groups could be dispensing of food without being caught up with undue bureaucracy. Would people be able to swap food? The way it was read, or could be read, suggested that that may not be legal in the full sense again, unless there was some level of bureaucracy and registration of the people swapping it and the like. So again, very pleased to say that with negotiation and submissions and discussion in the Select Committee, that was corrected. So the inclusion of a Good Samaritan clause to allow people to keep donating food to those in need is well cemented in the bill. That is fantastic. The assurances that swapping food will remain legal, so people can swap among their neighbours and the community and their relations, and there's no hint of any problems with that. These were major gains. One part that was most unfortunate that hasn't been a gain as yet was country of origin labelling. And Labor very nicely joined the party with the Greens, we have been lobbying, and we've taken huge a number of submitters petition to this Parliament wanting country of origin labelling. Not any old country of origin labelling, but mandatory country of origin labelling. The Minister has spoken about the voluntary system and says it's got something like 70% coverage. That is not good enough, and not only is it not good enough in terms of coverage, because it is voluntary, there's no real system of auditing. But of course, food safety is not audited well in terms of the domestic food supply in this country anyway, and I'll discuss that a bit more as we go. But 105 of New Zealand's 120 trading partners have country of origin labelling. It's not a matter of voluntary, and maybe the supermarket chains will put up a voluntary level of it so that they don't have a stronger, more comprehensive system enforced on them. So they're doing, how would you call it, a token approach. Some of it's quite good, but it is not good enough when consumers can't make those proper choices. I have a members' bill for the consumers' right to know around food and the country of origin labelling, and I'm hoping that in time that will be actually introduced. And not only that, it'll probably be a fresh government, and Labor has now come to the party after opposing country of origin labelling for so long, will obviously support the Greens in getting that through. I'm concerned when the Minister says, well, hey, Australia is reviewing it. They've got quite comprehensive country of origin labelling, but it could again be somewhat better. We don't need, if we're going to align, we should align immediately and have mandatory country of origin labelling like them, not after Tony Abbott has got amongst it and wrecked that, like he's about to wreck so many other protections for consumers and the people of Australia. That is no copy to follow for this country. The other concern is domestic food sovereignty. There was a lot of concern from submitters that we were losing our ability to make our own regulations around food safety in this country. And they refer to organisations, international ones like Codex, where New Zealand has a reasonable amount to play in the dairy section and some other parts. Codex, that international food standards setting body that helps with harmonisation of food standards throughout the world. That organisation was fine once. That organisation was truly independent and looked at truly independent science and made proper decisions that reflected the genuine risk. But that organisation now is subject to the same lobbying and interference that it seems that our food standards, Australia-New Zealand, our joint partnership with Australia seems to be subject to, that interferes with the real decisions, or what the real decisions should be, around food safety for New Zealand, or for New Zealanders in particular. It was really good that in the Select Committee that we ended up seeing some move towards some independence around food safety decisions. But the only way that has happened is that we've got food safety as a primacy, as the most important part of the food bill. It wasn't. It was just one of the things that needed to be taken into account. And trade is a major part of the things that need to be taken into account, apparently. But in the situation where there's a question of whether it's a trade agreement that's driving it, or whether it's food safety has primacy. That is really good, and that is one of the major achievements that's happened in very recent times to the food bill. However, if there's a decision around food safety, who is calling the shots on the science behind it? When the Minister was in front of the Select Committee for the budget estimates recently, when I put it to her about the labelling of genetically engineered food and how there was a real issue around the food safety of that, and there is. Animals fed genetically engineered food are in very bad shape. Their fecundity, their fertility is dropping significantly. Their lifespan is dropping. Their gut mechanisms are badly influenced. there is severe ulceration in way more animals that are fed that, and we are feeding it to animals in this country, and the food from that does not have to be labelled.
Honourable Member, his time has expired.
I did not hear the bell.
Order. Just before I call the next speaker, can I just remind the member that the box that you have on your desk, which talks about GE, is